Does he make threats to harm you?
It is the crime that the camera doesn't catch.
Police emergency, what's your location?
It happens at home. Thrives on privacy and ruins lives.
I feel like I'll always live in fear. I don't think I'll ever be free.
Victims of domestic abuse, most of them women, are feeling failed.
They're not protected by any means.
By a criminal justice system they say is broken.
I've got some priority domestic abuse jobs I want you to have a look at.
I've spent time with victims, with the police and prosecutors to hear about what's going on and the plans for change.
He'd follow me from work.
Sadie, not her real name, was abused in her home for a decade.
He hid in the boot of my car. He'd rock up at work. He put cameras on the house. He locked us in the house.
Her ex-partner eventually left, but kept coming back. He was arrested, but then released on bail. And then one night, Sadie says everything changed.
Me and my son were lying on the sofa, watching telly. I just saw him out the corner of my eye.
He came back to the house, but this time armed with weapons and with petrol. Sadie rang the police.
When we saw the blue lights, he went crackers, obviously. Poured petrol all over the hallway, all the way up the stairs, all the way up the landing. And he had a lighter. He was constantly flicking a lighter.
As emergency services lined the streets outside, Sadie tried to escape with her son.
I got to the bottom of the stairs and I've turned around. He's got my son at the top of the stairs and he had a knife to his throat and he was like, come back in or I can't see it. Sorry.
They survived. He went to prison for 3 years, half of his sentence. But still from there, he repeatedly broke his restraining order. And now he's out on licence.
I feel like I'll always live in fear. I don't think I'll ever be free.
We're not naming the police force involved, but we did ask for their response. They told us they're committed to improving their work and are doing all they can to safeguard victims and protect vulnerable people.
The biggest frustration for us is the repeat of domestic violence. It keeps happening.
The government says that domestic abuse should be a national policing priority. 2 million people were victims in the last year. They say it's a crime that should be treated as seriously as terrorism. If there were 2 million victims of terrorism, do you not think we'd be shouting a bit louder?
Yes, absolutely. It's really important that we understand the scale of this. This is a priority for every police force in the UK. It's a priority for the Crown Prosecution Service.
It is all set up to fail women.
Deborah Jones runs a charity in South Yorkshire which works with victims of domestic abuse. I joined their weekly support group as women here recounted the trauma of their abuse. One woman said, "It's every second of every day in your head constantly, living that fear.
All they wanted me to do was give evidence to get him locked up."
For 2 hours now, we've been here as women have come to talk to each other and share their experiences. And these are women that have lost their homes. They've had, in some cases, their children taken off them and lost all control of their finances. And it's a system, they say, that's stacked against them.
I dropped the charges. I didn't see the point. I'm not strong enough to go through the courts.
And fewer cases have been going through the courts. In 2015, there were almost 93,000 domestic abuse-related prosecutions. In 2023, that figure was 51,288, a drop of 45%.
That doesn't look very good, does it? So we share the concern about the volume of cases that are going through the courts. We're prosecutors. We want to see more of these cases. That is a focus of this plan. These orders are not worth the paper they're written on. They're a waste of time.
Another focus of the plan to change things is a better use of protective orders, issued by the courts to prevent perpetrators from contacting their victims. But Deborah says they often don't deter them.
A non-molestation order is not going to protect a woman when they have fled domestic abuse. There's no piece of paper going to do that.
It was a problem we saw play out in Cheshire. In one afternoon, we've seen where the complications come. One serial domestic abuser arrested for not turning up to court. Another call out to a suspect who previously breached his protection order. And even once a legal process gets underway, there are so many hurdles and opportunities for cases to fall down.
We don't think that we can get an evidence-led prosecution in the absence of that support.
In Cheshire, they're working to reduce those hurdles.
Absolutely fantastic.
The aim to give prosecutors what they need for a successful case.
Working together, I think, with the Crime Prosecution Service and the courts is going to be absolutely critical to making sure that we keep victims on board and we bring the right people to justice.
So we don't have to go back to her and ask for another statement.
Doing that relies on prosecutors.
What good looks like is getting as much information as quickly as you can, with as much detail. And this is what we're working with the police to do.
To see that you've been assaulted today.
Working with initiatives like this one, being trialled at West Midlands Police. The Specialist Domestic Abuse Desk here has video calls with victims to act as early evidence.
It gives them the opportunity to have an officer face to face, but not outside in a police car or in uniform. And you can have a really good chat and build a good rapport.
Domestic abuse isn't just a one-off incident.
Instead, it's a crime that repeats itself. Controlling, coercing, and constant. But right now, it's a system that's not working for the many it seeks to protect. An everyday emergency, with no immediate endpoint in sight. Molly Malone, Sky News.